Welcome back. It's a great time and having you on this show. And of course, so we're glad inga for Speed Racer. Tinesa nyokubanga mweku mina ku Speed Racer show wanukwese sports. Oyinzo twega takom televunga owandiko baka ngogenda ku Facebook page yafe genda ku mukuto gwa internet yagala page yafe ya Speed Racer with Frank oba siniko baka ku Instagram account yange oba ku Twitter. Mulingeri tugenda kwa tukudambu telev ngabo nobo tulaba wano live ku TV set oba ngokozesa simio nga weyambisa omukutu ngo streaminga live.
Yeah.
Kongs for the PT?
Well, we could have gotten more from the race,
oh, yeah.
but again, we weren't surprised with Hamilton. Were we?
We predicted.
We
you predicted it right over the last
was
weekend.
Definitely going to get his 6th home Grand Prix to put him ahead of Sir Jim Clark and
same level with Alain
Prost.
Yeah.
So that to that end, we weren't surprised. But what surprised me was the fact that he was at the right time at the right place.
That's right place.
When and we have not seen this. We have seen this before.
Yes.
Many times. Hamilton is always being at the right time, at the right place at the right time. When the safety car came out for Antonio Giovinazzi's sending his car into the gravel, the first 3 people to pit were Hamilton, Vettel, and Carlos Sainz.
Oh, yeah.
And immediately Bottas's 2-stop strategy ceased to make any relevance to the race, because immediately he knew the gap between him and Hamilton was definitely going to reduce. At the first 2-3 laps, I think Hamilton was checking him, trying to get him to pressurize him.
Yeah.
But I think his experience came through later on and realized that he will get a chance towards the end of the middle or the end of the race to overtake him.
Oh, yeah.
And just like that, the safety car comes out, he pits and in and out and gets on to not only win the race but also the fastest lap.
It's still too early to tell, but the evidence is there to show that clearly our #1 driver Vettel has dug himself into a very deep hole right now.
Yeah.
Not only is his challenge for the championship more or less over with a 100 points gap to Hamilton, even his status as driver #1 is in question, because Leclerc put on a proper masterclass. You know, he was voted the driver of the day.
That's true.
And he really showed maturity and very excellent defense, because he went toe-to-toe with Max, the Red Bull, the Red Bull warrior. And you know, it was very thrilling. They had close to 5 incidents of overtaking. There was that near engaging in the pit lanes. It was, you know, it put everyone on their toes. Everyone was worried, but it turned down very fine, turned down very well. And this is his 4th consecutive appearance on the podium. It's the longest run currently among all the drivers for now, and it's really excellent. And now he's close to Vettel, because he has 120 points now, and Vettel has 123. So that
which is a difference of 3 off.
So I would say let them aim for constructor points, but not team orders.
I think Vettel needs to, I don't know, go for this 1 week period. He needs to go and find himself a soft spot, sit down and reflect. Because so far now, those are 8 mistakes.
Mistakes he's done in the season.
Of the season, and before that, it was very. You would say, if you had told me he would go on that kind of a run, a wretched run, so to speak, that he would do 8 mistakes like that for a season, I would say no. The Vettel we knew from Red Bull is not the Vettel now. And I think there's some serious issues he needs to look at. People have come out saying that maybe the SF90 is not suitable for him, but that's not correct, to use a polite word. I think he needs to go back and reflect on it, because Verstappen was clearly faster than him. And Verstappen had even a bigger battle between him and Leclerc, as opposed between him and Vettel. It took him only 2 laps to get onto him and overtake him. So I think as far as Vettel is concerned, I think team orders wouldn't work. Let Leclerc, clearly he's faster, he's younger, he's hungrier for the points and for the podiums, and he's on a roll. So why not put him as a favorite for now? There are some talks actually right now that for the last 2-3 weeks that Alonso might be be coming in to replace him, and Vettel rumors coming out he might retire at the end of the race. So we don't know, but I think it's time for him to sit down. He's at a crossroads. He has to make a decision whether to commit himself or to retire.
Is Honda picking it right now that they now anticipate that the next 2021 or 2020 they are likely to have a title come their way?
Well, as a Ferrari fan, I wouldn't be happy with Red Bull improving, but the fact of the matter is that they are now competing with us for the position of number 2. During the British Grand Prix, you noticed there was a stint when it was Ferrari, Red Bull, Ferrari, Red Bull, in that order. And you know, Gasly was following Vettel, Vettel was following Verstappen, Verstappen was following Leclerc. And when Max would attempt to catch up with Leclerc, Vettel would try to catch up. So it's safe to say there have been improvements in their car in terms of aerodynamics and also in terms of the engine. And there's also another upgrade coming around the time of Monza. So they also were denied a podium because the time Verstappen overtook Vettel, he was in 3rd place. He was projected. And even in my race predictions, I had predicted that the Red Bull would be in 3rd place. Yes, but it's safe to say, yes, the Honda has improved. It has really greatly improved. They have come a long way from the days when they had a very bitter relationship with McLaren. So they are there, they are really fighting. And the evidence was also there to show when Gasly even did FP1, he was number 1 in FP1, he really upped his game and ended up in 5th place. And so, yeah, it's safe to say Red Bull is right there in the midst with Ferrari. But from a fan perspective, have we enjoyed the battle? This is what the season has been missing.
Exactly.
The most exciting moments in this season have been Austria, Red Bull, Ferrari. British, Red Bull, Ferrari. That's what we need. We also need more of that action in the midfield.
Yes. Think about the politics that is going running into the harsh American team. Seems to be away struggling from the race line. They are also struggling in the backyard, the administration of their team. What could be your take on that?
Well, I think Haas has been the biggest losers for Silverstone. Together with the people who thought they would bring umbrellas to sell them at Silverstone, and the rain never came up. They have a decision to make. Clearly, there's no cohesion, there's no teamwork, so and there's no synergy. So Gunther Steiner has a decision, and the words making rounds in the F1 media and F1 corridors is that Romain Grosjean might be on his way out as early as next German Grand Prix. I wouldn't put my money on that. I think he might be out in this after the summer break.
I don't see him coming next season.
You don't see him coming 2020.
Definitely he's not
coming in 2020.
For sure, next season is not going to be there. Esteban Ocon has been earmarked to replace him. Maybe probably after the summer break or most definitely next year. But again, when you go to the losers as well, I think Verstappen also lost as far as Red Bull is concerned, because that incident between him and Verstappen was going for P3. He didn't get what he wanted, so he lost, and Charles Leclerc was the winner of that battle because he went into the podium finishes. However, Pierre Gasly, we have been wary about him, and I've talked about him so much across the episodes we have had, and it's big. I was impressed by his performance, not only on the race day but across the weekend, from free practice 1, 2, 3 up to Q3, and for him to finish P4, that's his best ever finish for Red Bull. That gives us impetus to think that we can have a team, and he can drive to make confirmation for next year's lineup.
Oh, beautiful. And then now let's away from the politicking. Well, Williams, I don't had that kind of a predict. Of course, my namesake, that is Frank Williams, was with his team. And the team principal was with his team 50 years, running into that sport, running it, keeping the team at the race lines. What will be your say on that?
Well, what I would say is, first and foremost, it's a very big milestone for him making 50 years as a team principal. Remember, he built this team from scratch, and it took him over 100 races before he got his first one. And he really struggled in the early 60s, and he's very resilient. The time he got paralyzed, people thought he would never ever be in the paddock again, but the man has been strong, running strong, and this even had their best performance of the year so far. In position 14 and 15 for George Russell and Kubica. Yeah, the car is not competitive, but we expect there were some slight upgrades they had on the side of the badge boards, and it helped them because can you imagine Kubica ended up ahead of Vettel, you know. Imagine a Williams ahead of a Ferrari. Not in the points, but in terms of position, something you wouldn't expect. It was a positive outcome for them, and probably there could be progress, you know, in the coming races because there was improvement from British Grand Prix, and they are getting Pat Fry soon, who's going to come and replace Paddy Lowe as the technical director. And Pat Fry has really turned around the teams he has been in. So it's something positive for them to look to, much as they don't have points at the moment. And
before we get to close up with the new rules that are coming underway, I want you to have your comment, genuinely as a fan of Red Bull. Was Hamilton the only person to drive the Williams principal in a Mercedes?
I think that was just a gimmick. It's a marketing gimmick, and for us who are in marketing, we know these things. It's to hype up the race. But what I think the most important thing is also to focus on the midfield battles that we had as well. We saw Carlos Sainz and Danny Ricciardo fighting for battle for 6th, and Ricciardo coming out P6. That's his third P6. I mean, it's third P6 for the season. That was a great improvement, and we're seeing now that Renault are not sitting back because McLaren we thought McLaren was taking the midfield battle, winning it against Renault. Renault has come back with Carlos Sainz and Hülkenberg in P9 in P10 as well. So it shows that the midfield battle is closing up. McLaren thought they had it, but not yet. I think they are very slow in those fast corners, and they have to do something about it. Going into the new regulations for 2021, we'll talk much about that, I think, next episode. But I think it's good that you're looking at making the grid more competitive, making the cars more raceable, and standardizing a few things here and there, so that the gap between 1 and 10 is not as big as we can see right now.
Lastly, from you, Pedro, what is your sneak peek into the next race, that is the next coming weekend, as we progressively get to discuss more about it?
Sneak peek, just like my counterpart, Mr. Red Bull over there has mentioned, I think Vettel has a lot to think about. Remember last year what happened to him in the German Grand Prix? He's leading the race, and he crashed out. Nothing. He wasn't under any threat. He was leading German Grand Prix. And from that day on, everything has been downhill. His season went off the rails in 2018 from the German Grand Prix. Because he had just won British. So from hero, he became zero. You know, from hero, he became zero at the German Grand Prix. So he has a lot to think about, because I know there's a lot on his mind right now.
The cycle run down on his mind.
It's not even a make or break for him in terms of championship. It's a make or break for him in terms of
keeping the legacy of his seat and the legacy of Ferrari.
Keeping his seat in the team. We have had him saying he's waiting for the 2021 regulations to decide his retirement. He wants to see if the car will favor him or not. But I'm not so sure about that. For other teams, I would say Toro Rosso, good performance by Albon. It was good. Alfa Romeo, Kimi Raikkonen consistent bringing the points. Antonio didn't. I mean,
he spun and went up.
Yeah, we expected Lando Norris to do well in British, so
he didn't benefit from the safety car.
So we hope he can have a very good German Grand Prix. Renault is back, so I know they are going to be fighting head-to-head with McLaren. I'm hoping Williams brings something that can give them an improvement in the German Grand Prix. But in terms of German, I'm looking forward to Leclerc versus...
that will be part 3.
Part 3. Round 3.
Well, gentlemen, we can't take it over above here. And of course, let's have a short commercial break and come back with the local updates.